welcome to Pint Sized OCR, the only podcast in the world dedicated to junior obstacle course racing and produced by UKOCR. And here's your hosts, Libby Joyce and Finlay Greenleaf.
Okay, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. And with that first bit being done, we're now getting towards, I'd say, everyone's favourite bit of the podcast. It's the interview. And Libby, I'll take over to you. What have you got to say?
Oh, okay, I've got to do the interview now, the introduction part. But I'm actually really excited for this guest today because it's going to be a good one. It's going to be different. So we have got Matt Brooks with us.
Hey guys, thank you for having me. It's great to be here on a lovely Friday afternoon.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. So we'll I think we should just get straight into it because there's not loads to talk about, but quite a fair bit to talk about. So I'll start. Obviously the Kids World Championships has been announced and it is in China. How did you figure out Spartan wanted to have it there?
It's a great question, and yes, it's in Chongli this August, over the weekend of the 10th and 11th of August. And the reason why, little do many people know, but China and its kids' participation is the world's leading market. Events on average in China for children's participation are between 5,000 and 10,000 kids participating week in, week out. Their largest event last year was a world record for kids participation. They had 17,500 participants at one race weekend, and that's kids on our course. So they're on a slightly different level, and we obviously, we want to celebrate that. And there was no better way about celebrating that and really starting to look at the level and the quality of racing that's happening there, because it is incredible. It's exceptional. And they came to us, our partners in there, an organisation called UKOCR, and they reached out and they said they had this amazing opportunity on the back of what they've created over the last kind of 6 to 7 years, and this momentum that they've built in their kids' events. And they said, we'd love to host the World Championships. And we thought, internally in Spartan, we discussed it, and we said, do you know what? There is no better way than amplifying our pinnacle event in our kids calendar than putting it into a place and a market and a region which is literally at the forefront of developing our kids pathway and sport. And so we're hoping as a result we'll get a number of the best international juniors flying over to China and Chongli in August and having a bit of a showdown, because it's the first time, as I said, that we've really expanded. We've been in China for the last 10 years, but not on, obviously, we're talking about championship level. So it's a huge opportunity for us in Spartan. It's a huge opportunity for our partners. And it's going to be an incredible weekend.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
So we say this. So this is in China. What we kind of expecting for this in terms of terrain? Of course, last year it was in a very sandy terrain, beachy kind of. What's this? Is it hilly? Is it more forest? What are we expecting from this?
Yeah, it definitely is different to Bahamas, which is obviously pancake flat, beautiful blue seas and crystal white sand. That's for sure. So this is the polar opposite, right, guys? We couldn't get any further away from what we had last year, this year. And people don't know, Chongli is a huge ski resort. So if any of the juniors have been if you think about Tahoe, or you think about Mammoth, or you think about in Europe, you think about Morzine or Verbier, like that is the type of terrain we're going to have. Tough, challenging, single track, kind of stone based, different types of vegetation, alpine feel, and a real challenging environment for participating. One in which not only will allow for speed, on the downhills and the descents, but will allow for some real game changers and shifters, and the importance that the obstacles will play within that course is going to be paramount. But that's essentially what we can expect. Very, very different to last year.
Yeah, it sounds a lot different compared to what like the other years have been as well.
Yeah.
But obviously you've just like kind of mentioned the obstacles. Will there be like not giving loads away, but is there like any form of new obstacles that might be coming, or are they going to roughly stay the same?
I think so. So broadly speaking, they're roughly the same, but they do, because of the way in which and I'm not going to go into to spoil too much, but our partners and our way in which we deliver the events in China are slightly elevated, because the market in China is actually more geared towards kids participation, as we've spoken about earlier, and therefore what athletes traveling to the event the weekend will see is actually just a different level of event overall, like the whole spectacle, because rather than quite often that we have in all of our other events, the kids event runs alongside an adult event. And the adult event is where normally you get, just because of the nature of the audience, we have a large number of people. Whereas actually this is the flip, this is the reverse. So you're going to come to an event and the kids race is going to be everywhere, right? It is the principle. And that's also the way in which they approach the course and the obstacles. And effectively they have cross versions of our sprint courses with some of the key obstacles for juniors. And they're slightly modified. But you'll see a slightly expanded version to that, in terms of offering of obstacles, in which we'd otherwise get in Europe or the UK or the US. So nothing new to Spartan per se, nothing new like completely wild or changed, but there'll definitely be more.
Yeah.
And where we work with it, our 9 to 11-year-old discipline will be doing 22 obstacles across a 4-kilometer course. And the 12 to 14 will be doing essentially a sprint, a 5K sprint with 26 obstacles.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I mean,
Very
Libby,
good.
we take it back to Nevada when we did the junior champs. We look all the way back then, so many years ago.
So many years.
We were, we were sharing the stage with the adults. Of course, there was lots of adult races. It was the Nevada weekend for Spartan. So the fact that the juniors will take center stage is really unique, and it's really nice to see that the juniors get their chance to shine by themselves and away from the adults and really prove who they are.
Yeah, and definitely. And I think not only that, outside of the course, but it'll be the level of competition. So we won't have, a small field participating in either of these two heats, and obviously the sub heats within the overall categories, right? It will feel like a highly competitive environment, a true racing environment where, to be quite frank, it will be who's up for it on the day. The nature of the course, the nature of the obstacles, just the terrain as a whole. We will have a high octane kind of theatre moment. We can't wait. I can't wait. And I'm hoping, athletes who are traveling, and obviously our domestic athletes in China, can't wait too.
Yeah, it'll be good. Obviously, for like people who can't go, but want to know what happens, will there be any live streaming or any form of way for them to watch it?
So, as you can obviously, I think a lot of people are aware, there are different platforms and systems, social platforms, media platforms, etc. in China, and that makes our ability to live stream like we would do in other parts of the world a tiny bit more challenging. But we're going to have a team on the ground. There'll be live updates, and there'll be stories and imagery and short kind of video clips. It won't stand to be live streamed, just because we're unable to do that. But we'll be making sure that across the globe, the Kids World Championship is creating as much noise as we would do if we were in Abu Dhabi, or if we were in Sparta, or if we're in Morzine later this year. So there will be lots of coverage to things to follow. It just won't be necessarily in live time, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it sounds good. That's exactly what we want to do. We want to spread it out towards the world and get it more encouraged worldwide for these juniors. And I really want to mention as well, especially this World Champs coming up, and I'm going to have to mention this because we are obviously a junior podcast in the UK, and that is, of course, reigning champions, and Harry Jeffrey and his sister Sophie Jeffrey, of course, both podium. I think Harry won. I want to say Sophie was second in her race. So both of them, imagine them to turn up there. What are we expecting in terms of the field in a competitive way? Because we've got two superb athletes come from the UK. Where are we expecting people to come from? I know you're saying worldwide, but is it anywhere especially you think people are going to shine?
I think for the first time we will have, outside obviously China, we're going to have a much larger Asian representation in the field. We know we'll get the top podium athletes from Europe, UK, and North America are traveling. We know that. But it'll be more around, obviously, naturally, given where it is, about kind of Asian representation on that start line. And junior participation in those markets is it's very strong as well. I think to hand, I wouldn't be surprised if there are some upsets, purely because of the nature of the climate. It's going to be very humid. It's going to be very warm. It's going to be a very different racing experience to anything that we've offered in a kids World Championship environment. And also just then, as I said, the spread of athletes that we've had. Traditionally the Kids World Champs has been in North America or the Americas, and for the first time it's not. So it's going to have a real international flavour to it, beyond necessarily just the handful of UK and European athletes that have often travelled, yourselves included, to Americas before.
Yeah, okay, excellent. It gives real chance for some underdogs to shine.
It definitely does, and people who've never experienced the championship world, but are definitely championship level, are serious, junior athletes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna say this question because I kind of want to know as well. Obviously, Kids World Championships haven't done any form of prize. They have done prizes before, but will there be prizes at the World Championships this year?
There will be prizes, but not necessarily like your check that sits behind you. And that is related to obviously how we manage junior participation. But there will be notable prizes around some cool perks and some awards that will be given for those at podium. Again, I won't necessarily spoil too much, but they are very different in China to what we've experienced before. They aren't cash. That is the one thing there. But they are notable, and they are definitely worthwhile getting yourself on the podium.
Well, a little teaser for all the juniors that are listening.
You can never give the full game away, but it's definitely worth training for. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Go on then, Finn. You can fire away with your questions.
Yeah, I'll continue then. I just want to say as well, I'm very impressed by it, especially the way it is in China right now. I think Libby, I don't know if it's the same for you, because we both started Spartan at such a young age.
Yeah.
I think for me, the first time I did a Spartan Kids, me being perfectly honest, it was more of a kind of, kids go over there while adults race, things like that. It was very much, it was a good quality still, but it's very much a side thing compared to the adults. Adults was always the main show, and the kids was just like a little place for kids to go off and run. And then we, of course, I think Libby were both there when the competitive wave was introduced and we started getting more competitive. Yeah. And then the World Champs. So with all this expansion now, so going to China as well, World Champs been in the Americas, it's expanding globally. What is next then for these juniors? What's the next chapter?
That's an awesome question. Then that's an awesome question. So it's twofold. One is you are the future, and we recognise that. Spartan, in Spartan we recognise that in an abundance. And therefore, we've got to keep on innovating. We've got to keep on raising the bar and raising the standard and moving junior participation forward. And not only does that mean we've got to increase accessibility and we've got to keep attracting new, as do we do the whole OCR space, but we've got to innovate, right? And we've got to make it a spectacle. We've got to make it theatre. We've got to give people the desire. So essentially when we think about kids, one is making sure that we're doing world-class kids races in every market and every territory that we possibly have. And like you say, Finn, it's not necessarily a bolt-on. I'm not going to use the word afterthought, but a bolt-on. Whereas actually it's the pinnacle. I think some of you guys were probably down in London West this past weekend, where we had just under 1,000 children and then juniors racing. and the competitive heats were packed, and it was an incredible environment. And the more we elevate the overall courses, the more we think about the obstacle placement, curation, the ways in which we want to challenge juniors, just like we challenge adults in our courses, the more that will naturally lend itself favorably to creating these amazing environments, right? Elevating that bar, like you say, what's next, what's coming. And we'll find, we'll have greater stories to tell, right? We'll give people different variety when they come to do a race rather than the kind of the same feel. And that's exactly what China is, right? China is getting it into a space which is no junior in the Spartan ecosystem outside of those obviously in China. So, International have experienced an event like that. And we're going to be doing more of that, more investment, more looking at and nurturing, the talented athletes who are going to transition into our adult races, more about nurturing and celebrating and championing those in the podium, more about just bringing people in and making it accessible.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Like you say, they are the future. So yeah, invest into it and make sure it works.
100%. And you know what, for you both, I look at you both from my 6 years now in the business, and it's a journey, right? And you guys are, you were where you're in the, and because of nurturing, imagine if not do we have just 2 Libby and Finleys, but we have 20 Libby and Finleys in 5 years' time, right? It's just that then brings and it completely elevates in adult racing, and it nurtures next generation, which is so important. And we've got to do our bit. Like you say, we can't have what you guys experienced in 5, 6 years ago. What we've got to have is what athletes are going to experience in Chongli in August, time and time again, weekend after weekend.
Yeah. I might change the subject a little bit now. Obviously, there's this new rule that's gone out. Do you mind explaining that in a little bit more detail for like people who have seen it but don't understand it too much or haven't seen it at all?
We're talking about age groups.
Yes,
right?
Age groups.
Ages. Yeah, no, 100%. Of course we can. So it's related to our approach to junior pathways. Now you think about the journeys that you both have been on, and others listening probably right now are going on that same journey. And one thing we've acknowledged through the period is as we continue to push boundaries in our events, in our courses, in the ways in which we're now developing and nurturing our junior offering as well, we've got to look at what is the best pathway for athletes in our ecosystem. And what we don't want to do is create an environment where it's either too demanding, too challenging, or it puts somebody off. And we've got to find balance, right? We've got to find the balance between nurture and competition. And that's really hard to do, I promise you. You guys are there and athletes like yourself saying, I want, and rightfully so, training hard, in the gym, going out on runs on the weekends, right? We need to deliver against that, but we also need to be really measured and making sure that we're getting people to excel in an environment which is supporting their training, supporting what they're doing every other day of the week when they're not racing a Spartan event. So we have made some changes to the ages in which you need to be to participate in our adult races. And for some markets, that has mean a change to some opportunities, particularly the Beast. For other markets, it's actually has opened the door to juniors or mid-juniors, we should say, that late teenager banding in adolescence. So essentially what we've now got is for competitive and open categories in all of our markets, you need to be 14 years of age to participate in the Super or Sprint. In order to be able to participate in the Beast, you now need to be 16 or over, and that's again in competitive or open. And to be able to participate in ultra or above, you need to be 18, so you need to be an adult. And that is, you need to be that age on race day. So if you're not 16 on race day, you won't be able to participate. So it's not that you can turn 16 in that calendar year. You've either got to be 14 to do the sprint or super, and 16 to be able to do the beast. And this is, as I said, it's all about, for us, it's about how we viewed as we continue to push the boundaries of our adult course and the challenges. It's about then making sure that our pathways for our juniors match what we feel is just is right, and is supporting development, right? It's nurturing development. It's now stepped approach. Get confident, get comfortable, really progress and develop in the setting of sprint or super, dependent on one's ability. When you're, between 14 and 15, build upon that, solidify your experiences amongst racing with adults and in that environment, then take the next step, and then nurture yourself in the next step, from when you're 16 and above, until obviously you then get to, if anybody then wants to take on those ultra distances, which again is a whole other ball game. So it's really just an environment. It's no different to how an individual might train themselves, when you think about sprint or etc. But it's more around us making sure that we're doing our bit to really nurture junior development and pathways.
Okay, nice. So we're saying, we describe it almost as a bit of a bridge then. So we're going from junior through the distances to the beasts. So would you say, for example, as the ages are different now, would you say the sprint and the super is almost a stepping stone to the beast for some juniors as well?
Yeah, definitely when it comes to distance, right? Not everybody is, when you are still growing and you're developing, people develop at different rates, right? Some people are amazing, become great at running at a young age. Some people are really strong. Some people are brilliant on rigs. And this just finds commonality, right? This finds consistency in what, just like, you have adults, but it finds consistency in the steps. And like you say, it then helps bridge development. So it enables our athletes to become more well-rounded as a whole, as they know what they're working to and the realm in which they're working to, rather than saying, in the UK or North America, crack on, go and do a beast straight away. Because that's not conducive, right? And if you don't have a great experience, that can put you off. And it doesn't create the environment in which is best for the individual. And similarly, obviously in Europe, we're now opening our gates. We hadn't done that before. Outside of France, which there are some markets where laws dictate what we can or can't do. But in most markets where there aren't such laws, we're now enabling both European and American athletes to also get the flavour for all of our European events, which is equally as exciting. And it's going to, again, elevate participation. It's going to elevate competition. And it's really going to provide that awesome stepping stone that we've definitely been missing.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say, like you say as well, the juniors, they're very confident. They're young, they're strong, they're excitable. But they do need that support at points. So if they've got that structure, and that's the main thing, they need that structure to go through to support them, because it is a road, it is a journey. So to highlight and make sure they can go through that is a priority. So yeah, thanks.
Oh, awesome. Good.
Yeah.
And hearing from you guys, hearing that feedback from you guys is testament to why we've done it.
Yeah. Obviously, to get a trifecta, you have to do all three. How will the 14 and 15-year-olds get their trifecta?
The long story short, the answer is that they won't until they're 16.
Got it.
And that's not to necessarily negate participation or the reason for racing. We still award with podiums and age groups. And we'll come on to talking about, I have no doubt we'll come on to talking about in a minute, the short course world champs, something that we've developed with everything in mind, which is another aim to prize, on the horizon. But they won't be able to, in this current climate. And that's not necessarily to say that we don't want them to, far from. It's more that we can still provide them the level of racing, the experience, still within a super and sprint setting, without the beast.
Yeah.
And that's important as well, because end of the day, it is about their safety as well. If looking at young ages doing a beast, it's not safe. It can be dangerous depending on the age and the ability. So restricting it to 16 It is superb, I think, personally, from my opinion, because then we need to make sure they are safe and okay on course, and that gets them their growth. So, in all aspects of the race, talking about obstacles, running, etc., there's a certain element required when it comes to age. So, yeah, like you say, I perfectly agree with that and applaud that decision as well. So, yeah, once again, thank you.
And talking about trifecta, guys, you know, in a non-official capacity, we often, in more and more races, we deliver a sprint on a Saturday and a sprint and a super on a Sunday. So there is still the ability to be able to race 3 times across a weekend in an unofficial capacity.
Yeah, which will still be good because they can still feel like they've done
They get the
the
flavour
whole
for
weekend.
yeah, on a Saturday and a Sunday for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, you obviously did mention the short course world champs. So I've had the idea of like it's gonna be quick, snappy, and I think that's kind of good because we've obviously got the sprint, which is quick and snappy, but normally like most people would do the sprint for like fun and everything. But I think this is gonna be a little bit of a change, which I'm excited to see how that goes. So do you mind explaining a bit more?
Yeah, definitely. Well,
Detail.
first and foremost, just like everybody under 14 needs to be in Chongli in August, everybody over 14 is going to need to be in Croatia and Hvar in October. It is absolutely breathtaking what you know, not only the location but the course that the team are creating. Thomas Blanc, as most people know, is going to be the race director. So he has his magic finger in everything to do with that sprint course. And the course is going to take in elevation because you're not only you initially at sea level, but you go up some way in that short distance. It's going to take obstacles in the water, in the sea. It is going to take in sand, hard standing, tarmac, trailed routes. It's literally got everything against what is probably one of the most stunning backdrops that I've ever seen for a Spartan event. So I can't sell it enough. And obviously, with the rules that we have, you know, 14 to our 17 category, there will be a world champion in the sprint distance for that as well for this year. And you think about, you know, naturally with the field, we're hoping, just like we are with elevating the level of competition and athlete participation in Chongli in China for Kids World Champs, we are going to get our junior category for 14 to 17. We're hoping to get the best athletes we possibly can to make the most amazing field for the first time that we're throwing down the gauntlet and we're saying, come on, you know, who can run and tackle a sprint 5K the quickest and become world champion.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I'll tell you what, you really do like picking the nice locations, Croatia and all this. You know, if you want to go holiday as well. Like, yeah, you know, there's the people like I go with my mum and my dad to races. I'm the one who races. My parents are ones who enjoy the holiday. So you're definitely picking nice locations, everyone as well to enjoy. So that's good to see.
Do you know what? There is method in the madness, guys, right? There is a reason why we do what we do and why we choose what we choose. Also, we love to go to great places, so it helps. So you can't. So you know, it's not all just one-sided benefit. We get the benefit too.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping to go out, so I think you'll be good.
That'd be fantastic. And then we're going to have a big spectacle there. It is going to be very different to the norm. It won't just be parade of nations for those, you know, juniors who've either come to a regional champs or a world champs before, you know, who've been in Sparta. There is going to be a big show, a big part of entertainment, a big bit of fun, and a real kind of gathering of the best of our Spartan community. It's going to be brilliant. And like you say, you know, Finn, it's going to be great for junior racers listening. It's going to be great for their parents and adults who are joining us as well. It's going to be an incredible weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like you say, it's good for junior races, and I think for that distance and some of the shorter distances as well, like the 100-meter, we've got a lot of young athletes like that. Of course, got Oliver Addy, mentioned him before, 3K champs and Europeans. He's obviously very quick on the 100-meter as well, world champion on that. We've got Jack Andrews. We've got a lot of these short distance potential runners in the UK that could definitely take home the title.
And that's also why we're really excited, right? You know, the not only doing a short course sprint world champs, but it is the short course world champs because we've got the 100 meters. And we've got our very own 100-meter Spartan course. It is invitation only. And we're working with all federations around the world to make sure that we have the best athletes. Obviously, chasing down the $100,000 prize pot that we're going to have up for grabs as well in Croatia. So it's not going to be, it's going to be a big old spectacle. It will precede the sprint world champs, and even better, the 100 meters is going to be televised.
Wow,
nice.
Yeah. That is a big step for the sport. So
that's good.
Yeah,
a huge step, and it's going to be one where if you can't be there, you're going to be there because you're going to be watching on your TV.
Watching TV. Yeah, that'll be really good.
That's superb.
I can't wait.
Nice. Finn, have you got any more questions?
Yeah, I've got plenty to say, I think, as well. Yeah. Give me 2 seconds. I've got to scroll now, make sure.
That's
Oh,
all right.
gosh.
Love a chat. So
Finn with all his questions.
there is a lot. Look at that.
Yeah. I might bring it back to the UK again and back to races for us locally, of course. And I'm once going to talk about the expansion of Spartan. Well, I'd say expansion. We're looking at OCR now itself, not just Spartan, but as a sport, we've seen more technical get into it. Of course, we've had World Championships, both the OCR World Championships and the FISO World Championships. And alongside the rest of the sport, Spartan has grown. For example, ends of races, we've got technical rigs now. I remember it was a couple of years back, I was in Australia doing a Spartan, and they still had I don't know what to call it, men with clubs, I'd say, the
Gladiators.
Gladiators, that's it. Yes, the gladiators were still there. So they've gone from things like gladiators to these technical rigs. So it's obviously been an expansion and a growth to get it more technical, get it more like the rest of the world of OCR. Is there any plans for further development to get it more this technical side of OCR, or would it be what people describe as more Spartan-y still? Will we get that technical element a little bit more in Spartan in the future?
Yeah, it's another great question. It's really important, right? When you think about OCR, we play a role within the OCR space, and arguably you need to have difference, right? For racers and for you athletes, you don't want to be doing the same thing week in, week out. Not necessarily. Just like, where part of the beauty of OCR is the differences that you have in the courses, in the terrains, and the nature and type of obstacles. And that's why it's grown how it's grown. We definitely recognize our role, though, within the overall sport and within developing the sport and when developing the athletes, that are participating week in, week out and training hard, especially obviously on our roadmap towards the Olympics. And where the Olympics becomes a degree of the need for some standardization. And obviously in the UK this year, for example, or last year, and we continue to do, we've been doing an awful lot with British obstacle sports, with BOS. We've made huge steps around officiating, huge steps around parts of kind of training, various consistencies in terms of making sure that we're operating on a similar level that they see in other events or promoters. And that obviously naturally, as you say, Finn, goes to obstacles. Now, we're never going to get away, right? We're always going to have a spear throw because that is Spartan. We're always going to have things like Atlas balls because that is Spartan. Hoist. But as we think about other obstacles that we want to innovate, of course, we want to be at the forefront of technicality. But technicality is different to, necessarily how others might approach technicality. So we definitely don't want to be just runs with the consistency, but things like tilting ladders that came out. We had our own grip strength that was trialed in Munich, which was called Athena's Traverse. The other week, we are innovating. We're continuing to look at how we can increase technicality, both from grip strength to mobility or throughput, through to upper or lower limb strength, and the ways in which we can challenge you as racers. But I think the biggest point is there will always be difference. I mean, it's really important for the space and for racing that there is points of difference, you know.
Yeah, that is superb, and that's exactly right. There needs to be that difference and separation that makes certain races unique to others, and the separation, like we say, obstacle course racing. It's such a umbrella term. There's so many different things it can mean. So yeah, thank you for that. That is superb explanation.
All right.
Yeah. I've run out. I think my brain's gone from football now. I can't think of anything.
That's all good.
Yeah, I've got a little bit more, if all right.
Go on then.
You keep on coming.
Yeah, I wanted to discuss Spartan's partnership with British Obstacle Sports as well, because obviously we've got both the British champs and the junior champs being hosted at a Spartan venue. How's that combined? Because it's similar to what I just asked before, but it is that combination of Spartan, but also that element of OCR. We know that technical side. So how's this going to work? The Spartan and British Obstacle Sports combination, of course, got Toros in there as well with Toros technical rigs. So all of this combined together, what exactly can we expect?
You'll expect a variety, is what you'll expect in June and Midlands. It's what made it was the first time that we did it, and we supported British Obstacle Sports last year in Pippingford for the British champs. And broadly, I think that was a success and well received. We British Obstacle Sports ultimately, they reached out to us initially just to kind of get the championships back off the ground and to re-establish it. Our calendar worked favourably last year and this year, and I think what it does is we're also aware that us, Nuclear, there are a couple of others, but we have a huge pull, right? We have a huge reach and an audience, and we can make sure that we're getting the best athletes there to represent what should be a British or a junior championship level event. And that's also in terms of the delivery, the expectation, the consistency that's needed by you guys, by our athletes. In terms of what we can expect in the Midlands, in Grantham, in Belvoir Castle. It's Belvoir, by the way. It's definitely not. Everybody says Belvoir. It's Belvoir. So it's Belvoir Castle in June.
I've definitely got that in the past. Yeah.
There you go. So it is a bit of a mix, right? There'll be some specific. We obviously have the band system that we operate in with official FISO technical officials, BOS officials. We have the Taurus rigs that we put in place that will still be there on some of the more modular obstacles. We will have parts of the course that will be bespoke and specific to the championship. We will have a couple of unknown or unexpected obstacles that we create that will potentially see a flavour of Tough Mudder and other come into the course. And obviously we'll have the best field that we possibly can. Which will make it an incredible spectacle, an incredible experience for everybody who is on that start line.
Yeah, and one more thing as well. Sorry, I keep flowing now, but I've got into the rhythm.
I love the rhythm. It's like you're racing, right? It's like you're racing. That first K's done, and you're now flowing.
Yeah, exactly that. Obviously, like you said, Toros attachments will be at the British champs and the British junior champs. Do you reckon there's? Of course, you've got Nuclear in partnership with Toros. You've got training facilities like Rumble in partnership with Toros. Do you reckon there's any chance in the future we could see Toros working together with Spartan at some races potentially for some rigs?
I love that. I love the probing there, Vinny. Never say never.
Yeah.
It's definitely not in the pipeline right now. That is being honest, but never say never.
Okay. Yeah. That's it's great to hear. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. No, I think have we answered everything? Have we asked everything, Finn?
It's ticked all my boxes. Yep, I've got everything sorted on my list.
Happy day.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed making this, to be fair. It's been good to get that information, I think, especially for the juniors as well, for the Kids World Championships. I think this information will help them out and convince them to want to go. Finn, we're at it again, Finn.
I know. We're
breaking parents' wallets.
Yes, we need to do that on a shirt now, don't we?
Do you know what? Slogan. Do you know what? That you're allowed to do it. You're allowed to do it, right? And I would keep doing it. As a parent myself, I would say keep doing it.
Yeah. But yeah. So thank you so much for coming on, and taking time out to speak to us about this.
Thank you for having me, guys. And genuinely, just from us at Spartan, from myself as well, what you guys are doing is awesome. And think about it back from you talk, Finley, about what we're doing to help junior participation. You guys should look at what you guys are doing and what every other athlete is doing, right? You guys are bringing the conversation. You guys are making it known. You guys are flying the flag. Every other athlete that steps onto a kid's start line or a junior start line around the world is doing exactly the same. And the future is really bright.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, cheers.
Thank you.
So don't thank me. I want to thank you guys for having me on and joining you guys.
Well, I think that's the end of this section. So, yeah, thank you again. And I think that's it.
Yeah, perfect.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you for listening to Pint Sized OCR, produced and presented by UKOCR. If you like what you hear, please subscribe or leave us a review. And you can even get your parents to join our Patreon train so you can get your podcasts earlier than everyone else.
So alive, make it last forever. Stop in time.